Hey folks, this is Mary, aka Mercy Triumphs, and this is my podcast, Slow Crochet, episode 003. I'm still amazed that you found me, and I thank you for having patience with me as I learn the ropes of YouTube. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about some of my completed crochet objects. I'm going to talk about current works in progress and some new projects that I just began. And I'm also going to go and do a few corrections to my previous episodes. As I'm learning YouTube, I'm learning about it's not necessarily the easiest thing to make sure that you have a link in a description. There's a few steps to go through. So I want to make sure that I'm honoring designers and things that I reference. And so I will be putting those things at the end. So to start with, I'm going to talk about some finished objects, which I actually have. Despite being a relatively slow crocheter, I was able to keep working on some things this week and finish them off. So the first thing is my red fanny beret. I'm trying to get away from beanies. I'm trying to do a few more berets just because I want to mix it up. I do love how this thing turned out. We'll see if it actually looks good with today's hair. Yeah, it's cute. It's cute. You might have seen me wearing this in a previous episode, or I don't know. I'm not really doing social media these days, so probably wouldn't have seen me unless you actually live here and you've seen me out and about, in which case you would think, that girl is wearing a red beret. Noteworthy. Or completely not at all. Anyway, one correction that I wanted to note on this beanie is originally I said it was a pattern by Barocco, which is accurate. You can find it on Barocco's website, but there is a pattern designer, and that designer's name is Phoebe Gauhan, or Gaughhan. So I do want to honor her. Thank you for the wonderful free pattern. It is beautiful. I was inspired after making this beret to do another one. This one is using Premier, this yarn, Premier Wool Select, which is a DK weight yarn, and I'm using it in the color Brick, which is color 1151-35. I don't know how much yarn this took, but I thought since I really like the design elements here, I thought I would try to make another beret in a worsted weight yarn. So that is what I have done, and this is also another finished item. Here is my fanny inspired beret, and by inspired I mean I took the design element of the ribbing and what the stitch multiples were, and that's what I worked with. So I like how this one turned out too. Now this one is using a bit of Noro yarn, and it is Noro Tayo. It is 40% cotton, 30% silk, 15% wool, and 15% polyamide. And this comes in 100-gram skeins. It's about 200 meters of yarn here, and it is I consider it a 4-weight. It is a roving style, and like so many Noros do, it has all kinds of colors worked through here, which did not turn out. I don't think I got quite all of them in my beret, but I wanted to make another beret that is a little bit of a lighter weight, so with the cotton and the silk it's not going to be quite as heavy, although as loose as this is, it didn't seem to be retaining a lot of heat. Now for actual summer, I'm going to throw a ball cap on my head, but if I want to look a little bit more interesting and maybe a little less shabby, or a little less mom going to the gym, then a little bit more intentional in my style, then something like this is fun. The last project that I completed was one that I was hoping I would complete. It is my largest, no longer work in progress. Y'all, some of you love making blankets, and I applaud you for that. To me, they're not my favorites. Now, I will probably make more in the future. This is only third or fourth that I've ever made, but sure enough. And thank you to all you wonderful crochet YouTubers that provide wonderful podcasty content. I have been catching up on some old episodes while I've been working on my block cabin afghan, which is now complete. So I have bits of random rows of block stitching in my favorite olive green, and I have turned my square into a rectangle and I've added borders. And this has gone through a gentle cycle and a gentle dry, so it's nice and soft. And I have finally been able to retire my Christmas blanket so that this can now be the afghan of choice. So hooray. I do love how it turned out. I love the kind of classic jewel tones. I think this is going to be one that we're going to enjoy for a lot of years. And fingers crossed the kids won't fight over it too much. So in terms of works in progress, I've not made much progress on my afternoon at Pemberley dress. I'm not even going to show it or that detailed or try it on, but I have gotten to the point where I was able to try it on and calculate about how many rows it will be to get to a length that I'm going to have to decide what ultimately to do with it or not. Does that make sense? I'm going to have to do about 12 more shell rows, and at that point I'll probably be able to take some pictures. Now, I'm not working on this that frequently because I did start a couple new projects and I'm prioritizing those because they do kind of have a due date, but I have really enjoyed, or I continue to enjoy, working on this one. And I do want to pull up some more information just to be clear, because I don't think I was able to actually put links in the description as I hoped. But the book that this came from is called Ostentatious Crochet, 36 Contemporary Designs from the World of Jane Austen, and it is by Melissa Horozewski, Horozewski. You can find it on Amazon and other booksellers. It was published in 2011, and if you go to Amazon, you can look at the preview of the book, and you can actually find some information on this exact dress in that preview, at least here in the United States. I'm not sure if Amazon is different from country to country or not. So that's that work in progress. I did happily start 2 new ones. Now, one of them is it fits into 2 categories. It's my mindless crochet pattern, and it's also my pattern that I can work on just in the car. And this one has a due date because it is for a baby shower. Yay! I got kind of a last minute baby shower invitation. So when it comes to baby showers or even wedding showers, I tend not to like to do gift cards. I like to do something a little bit more thoughtful, but this particular family has a lot of things that they need on Amazon that are bigger ticket items. So I am just gonna do like an Amazon gift card for them. But I have to do something handmade, so I thought, let's make a happy little hat based on the size that the child ought to be, the age they ought to be when they're gonna need it in the winter. So I looked at my stash, and I have some of this Donina fine Italian style merino, and it's 100% extra fine merino wool, which is super wash. And I have it in, it's a 2 weight, and I have it in this color Glacier right here. And the bulk of it I'm doing in this blue, which is Cobalt. And I am holding it double throughout. So I'm at the point where I have it like I'm pulling from both ends and crocheting from both the interior and the exterior of the ball. If I don't happen to have enough, then I'm going to come in with the Glacier. I've already made a couple of hats with this yarn, and it's beautiful. I think that'll be a good little baby boy hat. I want to make sure that there's a long enough brim that if it doesn't fit perfectly, they can always turn the brim up or just have a little bit of wiggle room, because every child's head is different. But with the superwash, it should be a little bit more ease of care with still being quality, because this is a family that really has a value for quality. They have been friends of ours for several years, though we don't often get to spend a lot of time with them. So I wanted to make sure that even if it's a small thing like a hat and a gift card, that it is something quality that they will appreciate. So that is my sit in the car while my husband drives us to church kind of project, although can't really do that now because the shower is coming. Hopefully I won't be crocheting on it as we're driving to the shower itself. And my husband is not going to the shower. They're doing a father-son time for the fathers and the other children, so they don't have to do the baby shower thing. But anyway, that means we're all going to be riding together. That's a lot of information about one small thing. Anyway, that is that project. Now, I did frog back the little scarf that I was working on, the little neckerchief, because I realized, first of all, that I wasn't enjoying it. And second of all, I'd gone to the library and picked out something that made me think of my children. And it's a little pattern book. And so I wanted to frog back so I could only really have one thing I was having to focus on at a time. So at the library, I picked up Star Wars Crochet. And it is by Lucy Collin. Here's the back. You got Chewie and Han there. So this book is amigurumi patterns of different Star Wars characters. And I told my children that if they wanted to, they could pick out a character and I would make them a Star Wars character. So thus far, one child has come forward and he chose Chewbacca. And oh my goodness, he was so excited to go through my scrap yarn and find what he was looking for to be just right. I had to explain to him a little bit about yarn weights, but he was saying, "Mommy, have you started yet? Don't show Daddy. Daddy will be surprised when he sees it," and all this kind of stuff. So I started on Chewbacca last night. And he looks a little wacky, but here he is. He's fuzzy. This is his head. And I haven't put in the eyes yet, but I've marked where they go with some scrap yarn. And you see how fuzzy he is. I don't have a cat brush, which is what the pattern book recommended. So I just used a fine-tooth comb. And I started combing out the yarn. So we have a little bit of extra Malabrigo here. And then we have some just a worsted weight wool in that lighter brown. So I hope you can kind of see. I know it's a little dark in here right now, but I am enjoying how this is turning out, and this is one that I'm going to really have to focus on. I don't do amigurumi that much as a rule, but I'm happy that I can do this and kind of push myself a little bit, and the joy on this child's face and the joy about picking out what he wanted me to work on. It just makes me so happy, just happy. I'm not the kind of person that often gets motivated by happiness itself. I'm more motivated by doing what's right or doing what needs to be done and doing a job well done. That is very satisfying. And I feel very satisfied with a lot of things in my life. But I don't tend to chase happiness. So when I actually have these experiences of, like this sweetness on this child's face, the joy of, "Mommy, are you working on it?" And, "Mommy, can you use this yarn?" It's the sweetest thing, and I really, really treasure it. And I want to make sure that I do justice to the pattern and to the child. So that's something I'm excited to be working on, and hopefully it won't take me that much longer. But that all depends on all the rest of life and making sure that things line up and that we can get on with the getting on. I also love that it was a library book of all things, and it just so happens that Miss Tony Lipsy at TL Yarn Crafts, when she recently posted a video about 10 places you can find free patterns. I thought it was so funny because the very last place was the local library. which is one of my favorite places to go to find patterns. I love looking at vintage crochet books, and if there's ever a crochet book that I know exists somewhere, our library has an interlibrary loan system where you can put in the book's information, and there's libraries in different states that are connected to this system, and you can borrow through your library, and these books will come from other places to you. Now, it does take a little bit longer, but it's also a wonderful resource there. And it just so happens that I have checked out Miss Toni Lipsy's Tunisian Crochet Handbook right now, so I found that extra amusing. That, folks, is all I have for today. Thank you so much for spending some time with me and listening. If you've enjoyed this little bit of podcasty, yarny crochet world, please do all of the standard YouTube things, the like, the bell notification, subscribe, comment, share, all those things. That would be really helpful because I do want to grow in this medium, and I would love to see where this goes. I'm enjoying this adventure so far. If I'm not your cup of tea, thank you so much for listening this long. I really appreciate your time, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Bye.